You know, what I find intriguing is that you spent 26 years, writing these books, and you started by asking the question in your first book, can Asians think? And right through, your thesis has always been, it's going to be an Asian century, a Pacific century, and that suggests, therefore, that China, or perhaps China and India, could at some point overtake many Western countries. If I were a Western country, and book after book, if I were USA in particular, book after book is critical of me, is suggesting that my days are numbered. Why should I not declare you persona non grata? Were you? What was the reaction you got from the USA and many parts of Europe in your thesis, which was dogged and consistent for 26 years?
Well, I think the answer to your question is actually provided on the back cover of every book that I produce. Even Can Asians Think?
Yeah.
Got an endorsement from Henry Kissinger. So,
by the way, that's my favorite book.
Yeah, the interesting question to ask is, why have my books been endorsed by some of the leading thinkers in the West? And this is the great paradox about the West, you see. And I think people in the West who read my books understand that I'm not trying to demolish the West. They understand that I'm a friend of the West in telling the West, you lost your way, right? You're making some huge mistakes. And the mistake they're making is a very simple, fundamental mistake, which the more thoughtful observers agree with me, that the past 200 years of Western domination of world history has been a major historical aberration. From the year 1 to the year 1820, the two largest economies of the world were always those of China and India. So the past 200 years, where initially Europe took off, North America took off, have been an aberration. And the reason why I'm so glad to be alive today is that I feel glad I'm alive to see, on the one hand, the end of Western domination of world history and the return of Asia. And this is a remarkably exciting time. So what's driving the writing of my books is an awareness that I'm living at an amazing historical moment of history. And at the same time, my friends in the West who are trying to understand Asia believe that the one person who can explain the rise of Asia to them is me. And if you look at the blurb that Larry Summers gave me for the New Asian Hemisphere, he said, Larry Summers, who was the former U.S. Treasury Secretary, former president of Harvard, former chief economist, World Bank, said in the blurb that 300 years from now, the big story that the world will be talking about will be about how Asia returned at this time. And if there's one person who can explain it to us, it's Kishore Mahbubani.
But Kishore, how would you respond to your detractors or your critics that you've lost your objectivity in the process? Perhaps you've become too close and perhaps even fallen in love with your thesis, that you are not able to, even with the best effort, to see objectively that China also has with its strength, it has its flaws. Have you lost that neutrality somewhat, you think? I mean, it's a fair question. What's your response?
Can you name me one nation without flaws?
No. I mean,
every nation has got its flaws.
But some nations have more than their fair share.
The more thoughtful, why would very thoughtful people endorse a book like Has China Won, right? And by the way, one of probably the greatest strategic thinker that America has produced in the last 50, 60 years was Henry Kissinger, right? And in my book, Has China Won, I make it very clear that the whole book rests on a central premise given, an insight given to me by Henry Kissinger, which is that in this contest that's developing between US and China, the United States doesn't have a comprehensive long-term strategy for managing the US-China contest, but China does have a comprehensive long-term strategy. And people who think that this is, I say that is from Kissinger, and all you have to do is read Kissinger's book on China, and in the first chapter, he explains at greater length what I say in my book, Has China Won?
I mean,
So you wouldn't characterize Henry Kissinger as pro-China for saying that. Actually, both Henry Kissinger and I are telling our American friends, hey, wake up, you don't have a strategy. The other side has a strategy. And the biggest mistake that United States is making is not overestimating China, they're underestimating China and what China is doing. Now, obviously, if I'm pro-China, if I think China is going to win, I should keep quiet. But I'm telling my American friends, wake up. The challenge you're taking on is much bigger than you think to be. This is not a contest between the United States and the Communist Party of China. This is a contest between the United States and a 4,000-year-old civilization that has been here much longer. And by the way, I can tell you this. When I was invited by the Harvard Kennedy School to deliver the annual lecture, by the way, the first two people to give an annual lecture was President George H.W. Bush and Mr. Gorbachev. So I was in that group who delivered that lecture. And when I gave the lecture on the subject, what happens when China becomes number one, that lecture at Harvard University has now had 4 million views on YouTube. 4 million. So why, and many of this from the West, by the way, why would the West listen to me if I was just a propagandist for China? The West listens to me because I try to explain the real China to them. And of course, the real China goes against the traditional Anglo-Saxon narrative. And the Anglo-Saxon narrative, sadly, and by the way, the more thoughtful people in the Anglo-Saxon world agree with me, has become propagandistic. And they're undermining themselves, right? Because at the end of the day, the advice of Sun Tzu was valid: know thyself, know thine enemy, fight 1,000 battles, win 1,000 battles. And if you don't understand your enemy, you don't understand how China is succeeding and thriving, then you're going to end up being in a difficult position. And by the way, I must emphasize to you that the more thoughtful people in the Anglo-Saxon world read my books and endorse my books because they realize I'm trying to help the West.
So, is there something here that we can learn from the West, like the USA? They have not dismissed you. Some have. They have not dismissed you. They're still inviting you back. Your book launch, one of the venues is Harvard University, and as well as New York, from what I understand. Now, what is it that makes them, even though they disagree with you, even though you're critical of them, to continue to invite you?
And at the end of the day, when people from the West speak to me, they feel that they're speaking to a member of their tribe because, as you know, my undergraduate training was in Western philosophy. So when I argue with people in the West, they can immediately recognize what I'm saying because I'm using the concepts
and how you're saying
ideas and structures and metaphors that come from the Western universe. So they feel that they can talk to me directly. So so if you look at my book, my memoirs, as I said, it's a tribute to my mother. It's a tribute to the 3 founding fathers of Singapore who taught me so much, and it's also a tribute to the Western philosophy that I learned. And I describe how amazingly excited I was when I was studying Western philosophy at the National University of Singapore. And as you know, if you read my memoirs, you'll see that I wasn't supposed to go to university. Instead of being in university reading about Wittgenstein or R.M. Hare, I should have been a Cindy textile salesman selling textiles. So that's another reason for my memoirs. I want to say a thank you note to Singapore for having given me this incredible opportunities to grow and thrive. Because if I hadn't had the President's Scholarship in 1967, I wouldn't be here talking to you.
Some people have said that it's all about self-promotion. Your books, your articulation of your thoughts, the manner in which you articulate them, all of them is about promoting yourself. How would you respond to that?
Well, I would encourage everybody to promote themselves. In fact, when I was dean of the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy, I used to tell the young academics, and I say, you're writing all these things. They're wonderful. But if nobody reads them, what's the point? The whole point of writing is to make sure that people read them. And at the end of the day, if you carry out self-promotion, and if you promote a whiskey, and it tastes terrible, nobody will buy it, even if you promoted it 1,000 times. So the question, therefore, is, there is an open marketplace of ideas globally. Anybody can compete in it. Anybody can compete in it. Why do some people keep getting invited back to the leading universities, to the leading fora? Why is it that some people, their books sell and travel around the world and get cited and quoted? So it's not self-promotion. You're promoting ideas that resonate with the world. At the end of the day, I'm not promoting my personality. At the end of the day, I say, read what I've written. And that's what I hope your viewers will do. Because at the end of the day, whatever I'll be judged by will be what I've written. And I can tell you, by the way, that the big lesson I have learned in life is that you can write articles. Articles disappear overnight. But books are these enormous arrows that you shoot into the future. They can be cited 10, 20, maybe even 100 years from now. So I would encourage all my fellow Singaporeans to engage in shameless self-promotion by writing books.
Kishore Mahbubani, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and all the best.
Thank you.